So several years ago, I started shadowing a lot of laparoscopic and robotic procedures. And in these operations, you use a camera or a scope to see inside the body, which is critical to safely and effectively perform the operation. And in one of these procedures, blood got onto the lens, completely obstructing the field of view, causing the surgeons to completely remove the scope from the body, pause the procedure, clean it, navigate back to the surgical site. And this happened again and again. And I came to find out that this happens every 10 minutes on average during laparoscopic procedures across the US. And with the operating rooms costing up to $100 a minute, those delays add up significantly. And now it's so annoying to pull the camera out to clean that they spend up to a third of the surgery with some kind of impaired vision just to avoid pulling the camera out to begin with. Now, and that also leads to 94% of surgeons reporting that lens occlusion impairs their performance. And at the end of the day, they say it's a huge waste of time, they lose focus, and there's no avoiding it. And that is why we're developing SWICS, a scope wiper and irrigation cleaning system to maintain clear vision and eliminate these scope removals. Our single-use device slides onto the existing technology they already have, the existing camera, and allows them to actuate the device through the wiper or the irrigation function from outside the body. And that allows them to focus on what's most important, which is the patient safety and the operation itself inside the body at the surgical site. Now, we've gone out and shown this device to surgeons across the country, and they all say, it's about time, or I've been asking for this for the past 20 years. Similarly, as we talk to hospital administrators, they all agree this will have a significant impact on reducing the operating costs. Now, a lot of companies have tried to do this in the past, but we are the only one that has a wiper and irrigation system that can effectively combat fog, blood, and debris, which is critical. And we're selling directly to hospitals and ambulatory surgical centers for $200 for our single-use device, which gives us 85% margins. Now, with a $5 billion market, that allows us to scale significantly. And getting FDA approval later this year, we'll be able to launch our pilot program at the end of the year, initiate those sales, and by 2028, really focus on growth, getting to around $4 million of revenue, and 2029, scaling up to $15 million. We raised about 1.7 to date through non-dilutive and dilutive funding with a lot of key strategics that have come in, including physicians and key investors. Now, I myself have a background in origami-based engineering. I invented the technology, and that background in compliant mechanisms in origami really is the critical part of the innovation. Now, to expand, to make the team complete, we brought on experts in regulatory, business as well to complete that team. In other areas, we've brought on a strategic advisory board and partners to really help navigate the space. Now, at the future, where things are going in the industry with robotic and AI surgery as well, we see this as a huge impact to improving the effectiveness of AI and robotic surgery as well. Thank you.
See, are you able to quantify the amount of time savings this device will provide?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and it is a really important metric for us to look into and discuss. And there's a lot of papers that talk about how much time it takes and what the time is worth, right, in the OR. And I want to say that that's one variable that is important to consider, even though that's not the only way they look at it. But we are able to quantify. We've actually been counting, for example, how many times in the OR they pull the camera out to clean, how long that takes, especially in robotic surgery, that takes a lot longer. But the way that the cost savings works, it's not always exactly one-to-one of, you save 1 minute, you don't actually save, $65 to $100 per minute. But that is definitely an important metric long-term to improve the operating room throughput.
What's the key challenge you're facing in development right now, and what's the key barrier you anticipate for adoption?
Yeah, so I'll focus on both of those questions. For development, it turns out it's really hard to make really small things. And for these 5mm cameras, that's where we spent a lot of time developing. We got an SBIR grant for the National Science Foundation, which was to focus on de-risking that core technology. And that's been the biggest challenge to date, that we've gone through a lot of that mitigation by this point. Then go to market. I think the biggest thing is, one thing we've mitigated is surgeons do not want to change their workflow. And so that's why we've gone through and gotten data from surgeons across the country about their hand sizes, if they're left-handed, right-handed, how it's going to work to actuate it, and make sure it seamlessly integrates with that workflow. And so it's there when they need it, but it's not in the way when they don't need it.
Are you going to, maybe you mentioned that, are you going to be an add-on to any existing trocar, or they will have to buy your trocar?
Okay, that's a really great question as well. So we are universally compatible with the existing technology they already use. So that includes all the scopes and the trocars. So we fit around the largest 5mm and 10mm scopes that are on the market and fit into the smallest, even though they all say 5mm, some are tighter, into the smallest trocars that exist. So they do not need to scale up the trocar or buy our own trocar. They use the exact equipment they already have in the operating room in their inventory.
Hey, so I grew up in this space in the Lap Coley era. I had the Carl Storz endoscopy distributorship in the place that I lived. So this is a commodity product. How do you differentiate, right? Because this is not a premium product to some extent because you have competitors. How do you differentiate?
Yeah, so right now, the most commonly used device across the country for this space is an outside-the-body solution, and that's used pretty much ubiquitously, but you still require the camera to be removed from the body to pull out. It's basically a Band-Aid for the problem. And so we differentiate by cleaning the camera inside the body without moving it in the first place, and that allows them to focus on the procedure itself without having to pull the camera out to begin with.
Distributors or direct sales force?